Okay, this is going to be a video on doing the SSIS for the data warehouse. I'm going to, let me maximize this, and let me increase the zoom. So this is in some ways the answer to your prep. What is it that we have to do? We need to remove the data. We can use the truncate command to do that. We need to drop all the keys. We need to insert the data again and then reapply the keys. And I didn't put this here, but this time it's primary first and then foreign. Okay. So if we look at the reason we truncate it is we don't want to duplicate data. We're going to be putting it in. I'm going to do this all in the Management Studio before I do it in the SSIS, just so I know all the scripts work and then I can just copy them over. So I am going to go through them one at a time. I'm going to say truncate table dim bus. And I'm going to run that. And so we have to drop the foreign keys first. We have to drop the keys first. So before we can do the data, we need to remove the keys. So I'm going to go down here. And just for reference, I'm going to get, this is the blog entry. I am going to copy this stuff about all the keys, mostly for reference. So I'm going to go back to here. I am going to paste all of this. And then I'm going to close off the comment. Okay, so before we truncate, we got to remove all the keys. So I am going to, and we need to do the foreign keys first. So I am going to work from the bottom up, basically. I am going to drop FK, drop constraint, FK dim date. What is, I don't know what that is for, execute, increment index, drop constraint. Oh, I know why. Alter table back schedule. Drop constraint dim date. I'm not sure if we can do this all as one. Drop, yeah, I don't think it'll allow us that. So I think we have to do a separate alter table. So let's copy the pair. And we will alter table fact schedule drop. So we've got dim schedule, FK schedule. And we want to do the same thing again. This is all in fact schedule. All the foreign keys are in fact schedule. So we want FK dim route. And we want fk dim bus. And the last one is fk so we got to do fk dim employee. And I think that's all of them. So that's all the foreign keys. And then we can drop the, so in this case, it would be alter table dim employee. And we would want to drop pk employee. And then the same with all of these. I'm going to alter table. So let's just do this. And it'll be after employee, let's just do bus, dim bus. And it'd be pk dim bus. I will put the script for this on the blog as well. So I got dim bus, dim schedule, so paste again. So dim schedule, and I think it's pk schedule, right? Foreign key schedule, let's go up there, dim schedule. And then we need to, so let's see, which ones have I not got? I've got employee. Let's go up here. I've got employee bus. Do I have route? I have date, I think. So do I have, yes, I think I have, I got all rid of the things. I've got PK employee, PK dim bus. This is PK. So I need dim route. And PK route. I think it's dim route. And so we got route, schedule, got, we need date. Dim date. And this would be PK dim date. All right, is there anyone that we've missed? Got bus. Do I have bus down here? Yes. So let me look at it this way. I've got route. I've got schedule. I've got employee. I've got bus. I believe I have date. I think I'm fine. So I am going to try to run all of these drops. Well, it doesn't like it's dim employee. So let's try them all again. Dim date is not a constant. What is FK for the date? F date MK. FK dim date. It's there. Why is it not there? It's possible that it already has been dropped. So there's no constraints there. Employees, route, and schedule, and fact schedule. So I think I may have dropped them all. Let's look at dim bus just to be sure. Dim bus is still there. PK dim bus is still there. The PKs are still there. So let's go. Let's try these. Get rid of the PKs. Did I not get dim employee? Let's look at the fact table. It's still got dim employee. And then I can drop. No, these others may have already been dropped. Okay. One of the things that you may find when you're doing this is that if one of these fails along the way, you will have problems. And it can be a lot of trouble troubleshooting it to figure out where the problems are. That's one reason I want to do it in the management studio before I move it into the SSIS. So one of the things I'm going to do right up at the top is we're going to move these. So I'm going to take the drop keys and put it in front of remove data because that's actually how we need to do it. Okay, so now we're going to remove data. So we need to look at each of the tables. And I think what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to collapse them so I can just see them. There are no keys now tying everything together. So we should be able to remove them in whatever order we want. So this is the truncate. I'm going to truncate table dim bus. And I'm going to truncate table with a space dim date. And I'm going to truncate table dim employee. And I'm going to truncate table dim route. And I'm going to truncate, I spelled wrong this time. And I'm going to truncate table dim schedule. And I'm going to truncate table fact schedule. Now, if I run these, it should empty every table of data. So we look at those, says it completed successfully. So let's just check. I'm not going to do every table, but I'll do select star from dim date. We do that. There's nothing in it. Let's do the fact schedule too. So we run that. And again, it is also empty. So we have emptied all the data out. So we have removed all of the constraints. We've emptied all the data. Now what we want to do is actually to reinsert the live data, right? We haven't made any changes, but assume that the database is active and alive and moving and that we would have inserted things. So I'm going to delete those two lines. And I am going to go back to the blog. And I'm just going to copy all of these inserts all the way down through the fact table insert, just like we kind of did before. And I'm going to bring it back here, and I'm going to paste. And we're going to run all of those inserts. So I'm going to run all of those, and it may take a while because we're doing a ton. All right, so you can see how the rows were affected. Everything is populated again. And then we want to reapply the constraints. All right, but this time we want to do the primary keys first, and then the things. So we want to do all the PKs. So I'm going to get the all the primary keys, and I'm going to paste them down here after all of this. Only instead of drop constraint this time, I'm going to add. We have to change this a little bit, though. We can't. These won't actually work quite the way they are. Let's kill those. Let's go back to the blog. Because we have all of the primary keys, right? So let's add, this is actually the script that we want. And we can do that whole script. Control C, and we'll go over here, because that's actually the script that we want for applying the constraints. And let's run it. So we forgot to drop the fact table primary key. I'm curious if everything else was applied. So I'm going to refresh tables. So it looks like everything is applied down to the fact schedule. It has a primary key, but it doesn't have the foreign keys yet. So we just skip the primary key and we'll add all of the foreign keys here. And that works. So one of the things we need to do is up in our drop constraints thing, we need to make sure that we alter table fact table drop constraint PK fact schedule. So we forgot to do that. So we have all of that. We have our reapplied. And that is essentially the whole script that we need for our SSIS. And again, I did it in here to troubleshoot it. And obviously, as we went through, I did need to do some troubleshooting. Okay, so let's try starting the SSIS. And what we'll do is we'll paste in the different parts where we need them. So I'm going to lower the zoom. Okay. I'm going to bring up the Visual Studio. So should be on this. There should only be the Visual Studio SSDT. I am going to run it as administrator. I'm going to say yes. All right. So I'm going to do File, New Project. And we want an integration services project. And I'm going to call this data or Metro Alt DW SSIS. Going to do OK. I don't know what that means. I'm going to reload the solution just to be sure. Okay. So we're going to do a couple of different things. I'm going to add a new connection manager. So I'm going to right click. We'll do a new, I guess we'll do a new OLEDB connection. Localhost community assist is not what we want, so I am going to say new. And I'm going to localhost And what I want to do is Metro Alt DW. And do OK. Going to do OK. All right. Now for the tools, the very first tool I'm going to use is a execute SQL task. And I'm going to double click that. And it will open this up. And I want to go into the SQL statement, and I'm going to, we want to enter the SQL statement right here. First, we have to say what connection we're going to do. And we're going to do the Metro Alt. And then for the SQL connection, I'm going to click the three little dots, and it gives me this little screen, which you can maximize if you want. I'm going to go back to here, and I am going to do all of the drops. So I've got all of the drops. I'm going to do Control C. I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to paste all of those in. I'm going to do OK. I'm also, where it says bypass prepare, I'm going to make that into false. And one of the things I want to do is parse the query to make sure that it parses correctly. I am going to do OK. And I'm going to, while I'm here, I'm going to name this, I'm going to say drop constraints. Okay. So I'm going to add a second SQL task. And this SQL task, while I'm here, let's name it, will be to truncate tables. So I'm going to double click it. I'm going to do the same kinds of things. I'm going to give it the connection. The connection will be localhost Metro Alt DW. The SQL statement, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to highlight all of my truncate tables, copy them, go back here, and click the little button so I can see the whole thing, and I'm going to paste that in. I am going to do OK. I'm going to set bypass as false just so I can parse it. I just want to make sure I haven't made any errors. It says that it parsed correctly. So I'm going to do OK. And I'm going to get another execute SQL task. I'm going to drag that down here. This one will be to insert. So I'm going to real quickly name it before I do that. So I'm going to say insert data. And then I'll double click it, and we'll do the same thing. The connection is localhost Metro Alt DW. The SQL statement, I'll do that little thing, and I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to get all of the inserts. Couple of things about this. It might make sense, and it certainly would be easier to troubleshoot if you do each insert as a separate step. But I am going to do the whole thing as one. I'm going to bypass as false and parse query, and it parses OK. Now again, I did the whole insert thing, and I said date instead of data. Let me change that. It might be better to break it up into separate SQL tasks for each table. It would make it a lot easier to tell if something failed, right? All right, so we need one more SQL task, which is to reapply constraints. I'm going to double click this. Same thing, I need to give it a connection. Where it wants the SQL statement, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to copy this whole thing through. I'm going to go back and paste that in. I'm going to do OK. Again, I'm going to change this to false so I can parse the query, make sure that it's OK. So I'm going to do OK. And that should be our whole SSIS package. I'm going to start it to see if it works. So it failed right away. So let's see what it was that it failed. Let's look at the execution drill. I'm as administrator, I should be able to do that. I don't want to drop the object fact table. Let's look at the drops again. So let's go back to our control flow. Did I do something wrong with the fact table when I did the drops? I don't want to drop fact schedule. So let's look at that again, that error. Oh, I didn't close it, did I? For some reason, I don't see the data tools being up. So I want to look at this. Let's look at the SQL. I'm going to maximize this a little bit. Alter table fact schedule drop constraint FK dim date. Alter table fact schedule drop constraint. Alter table drop constraint. Alter table fact schedule dot constraint. Alter table dim employee drop constraint. Drop constraint dot constraint. The primary key in fact schedule. There's no fact table. All right, it's fact schedule and it's fact schedule. So dumb typing. Now, let's close that back down and do OK. We can't probably rerun until we go through and see where things stand. So I'm going to refresh the tables. And we were dropping all of the constraints. So let's see what the constraints are. So in the dim bus, keys, there's no keys for dim bus. There's no, let's look at, there's no keys for dim date. So I think it probably dropped everything except fact schedule, and the key is still there. So we want to I'm going to drop the constraint for fact schedule, and then I'm going to add them all back in. Because for our thing, the first thing we have to do is drop them. So they have to exist in order to drop them. So I'm going to re-add them all. And then we can try our flow again. So I'm going to start it. Insert data takes a while because there's a lot of data to insert and to reapply constraints. So this time it worked. We had to do a little bit of troubleshooting because I'm a terrible typist and I don't remember how to do things, but there we go. So every time you need to reapply the data, and one of the things we can do is we can go back here and let's just, as a separate, I'm going to do just a select star from, we'll just do from the fact schedule, just to show that the data is back in. So all the data is back in. And the keys are all there again. If we look at, actually, are the foreign keys there? Yes, all the foreign keys are there as well. So they should be under constraints. Well, they're not. They're just there as keys. They're all part of the primary key. And they're also foreign keys. Okay. So everything worked. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do, as well as this video, is I will post the code for what we did in the blog. Okay. One last thing I want to do, because this is something that would be run again and again, I want to deploy it. So I'm going to go over here. Don't want the team explorer, don't want getting started. I want to see the object explorer, which for whatever reason isn't there. So I'm going to do view solution explorer. And this package, I want to deploy it. So probably before we have integration services catalog. We've got that. SQL Server agent needs to start. And I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say yes. So once it's started, I can add it to the integration services package. So I'm going to go to here again. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say deploy. So we're going to deploy the package. And I'm going to say next. The server name is localhost. And we're going to connect. And the path, we'll do a browse. So I think I had a package, maybe not. Integration services, create catalog. All right. And enable SCLR. And so I am going to just do pass as the password. I'm going to do OK. Phew. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to do browse. I'm going to do SSIDB. I'm going to do a new folder. And the folder name will be Metro LTW SSIS. OK. I'll do new project. do OK. All right, I'm going to do OK. I'm going to do next, and I'm going to deploy it. Now you could run that package from the management studio whenever you need to run it. So if we go to here, there's the SSIDB, there's the Metro Alt. Let me zoom up and I can see this. So down here, and inside here, there's a project. There's a Metro Alt DB. And one of the things you can do with it, so if I open that up, there's a package. And when we get to the package, you can execute it. And you can set that up on a schedule to execute on a schedule. All right, so I think that's all for this video. As I said, I will post the code in the blog. So, okay.